get to know one another better. Welcome to the very first of this little group that we're calling A League of Their Own, which is a fun riff off of the 90s movie. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's a fun movie, and it's sort of all about the concept that you don't have to do things the way they've traditionally been done. And you can do things, you can figure out how things could be better done and go for it and try it. I think that's actually been very representative of my life and my career. And it's something that I embody, and I am going to encourage all of you to embody as well. So welcome to the first of A League of Their Own. This will be a bi-monthly series of talks and conversations and deep questions and funny stories. My hope is to help inspire you, but also to really truly understand what it is that you all need so that we can have an open conversation with one another and figure out this path together. For those of you who know a little bit, or I guess those of you who don't know much about me, I oversee marketing for Google Fi, G1, cross subscriptions, and have sort of my fingers in lots of different businesses at Google through those capacities. And I've only been at Google for about 2 years. I actually have a very unconventional background by Google standards, in that I was in the wine industry for 20 years. I had a pretty a wild and crazy set of stories about my professional background. And what I have found, I was actually reflecting on getting together with you all today, and I also, because it's perf season, I've been writing perfs for people, and I've been getting advice from others about perf. And something that keeps coming up over and over for me is people telling me, giving me advice on the best things for my career. And I was thinking about perf, I was thinking about all of you, and I was thinking about, gosh, like if I was just interested in climbing a ladder, whatever ladder that is, if I was just interested in climbing a ladder, I would have stayed in the wine industry. I would not be working at Google today. I would not be talking to you all today. I wouldn't know probably any of you. I would have gone down a totally different path. So I probably would be, the chief marketing officer at one of the top 3 or 4 publicly traded wine companies in the world, because my career, that was my career trajectory, and that's where I was headed, and I was very close to that. I share that with you not because I want to sort of toot my own horn or brag about my experience, but rather to say that life for me hasn't been about one constant journey. What has made life very interesting for me is being open-minded, as often as possible, having an open heart as much as I can. That is scary sometimes. And about being as fearless as I can be. And all of that supports me in my efforts of my North Star. And my North Star, I did a lot of work to figure out what my North Star was. And what really, truly makes me happy is helping others. And I know that sounds really simple, but like really, truly, like I get so much joy out of helping others. And those of you who are on my team will probably attest to it and probably have lots of stories about it. I know my children and my friends and family have stories about that as well. But it took me a long time to figure out that that was my North Star. And part of this, why I set up A League of Their Own, was because I got questions from so many of you asking for mentorship or guidance. And I realized I couldn't be of benefit to all of you all the time. So I thought, well, let's gather everybody together. I'll share some of these stories, have some of these conversations, help you find your own North Star. Help you find the things that I have that help support you in your journey to that North Star. Help you be brave and courageous so that you can take those risks and experiment as you get to different places in your life. And I think for me, what this has led to has been a wildly interesting, fascinating life. So it's September 2022. I'm 44 years old. I'm married. I have 2 young girls. I was going to say little girls, but they're 9 and 11 now. They're not little anymore. My 11-year-old is 6'4", and she's like, they're growing up. We live in Mill Valley in the North Bay in Northern California, and I have really embraced this concept of keeping an open mind to experiences. Both professionally, but also very, very personally as well. And for me, it's not just about pursuing one thing in life. It's just did I say 6'4"? Did I? Yeah. She's not 6'4". Thank you. My 11-year-old is 5'4". Thank you very much.
Sorry, I couldn't concentrate. I was like, what?
I sent something out, a video out to the subscriptions team the other day, last Friday, and Naomi caught me. I told everybody, I sent a video and I was like, it's what did I say? It's October 2022. And I also just said, now it's September 2022, didn't I? Naomi, you gotta catch me on this stuff. All right. So what you know about me now is that my heart is in the right place, and sometimes the details are lacking. But something else I hope you can learn from me is that I'm really good at laughing at my mistakes. And I hope that is something that I can role model for all of you, and you can embrace that as well. It's something I actually talk about a lot on the team. We are all human. We are all human. We all make mistakes. And you know what? I make more mistakes than anyone I know. I really do. When I was a child, I went to school all over the world, but mostly in Australia and and then in the United States. And as children, we are taught to, study the material, to memorize things, and we need our tests to be as perfect as possible, so we get an A on that exam. Or we need to write the article and make sure that everything is spelled perfectly, and there are no errors in it, so that we get an A on our exam. And if you are anything like me, and I almost guarantee you were, because Googlers, we tend to all be this way. I was a bit of a perfectionist. I worked really hard, and I know that I really liked I didn't need to get an A on exams, but I really liked the adoration, I guess, that I got from, or the positive reinforcement that I got from my teachers, and also from my parents and my granddaddy in particular, when I did well at school. So I learned from a very young age that perfection equaled love. And I'm not saying that that's yeah, it is a bad thing, but I'm not saying that was what was necessarily taught to me, but that was what, like 7-year-old me figured out. And so from about age 7 till, frankly, a couple years after college, I worked so hard at being perfect. It was exhausting, actually. I would just knock myself out all the time at getting straight A's. I'm sure, just like many of you, we all put all the extra hours in and making sure every homework assignment was done, every extra credit assignment was done. We'd studied backwards and forwards for all of our exams. We were totally prepared. We went in and we knocked it out of the park every time, right? Am I right? Can I see a raise of hands if that sounds familiar to anybody? Show of hands, anyone? Okay, oh, yep, I'm gonna go with almost all of you. Yep, almost all of you understand this. So we work so hard at being perfect. But what happens is that if you're so focused on being perfect, there's no white space for creativity, is there? There's no white space for really ingenious ideas. There's no white space for feeling. There's no white space for actually taking the material and embodying it when you're studying. And certainly at work, I know in my case, the first few years that I was working in a full-time job, I was so focused on being perfect and delivering perfect work that I never took any risks. And I know that for me personally, if I had taken risks, I would have actually delivered far better work. And so when I think about how I manage my team, you know, I watch myself fuck up all day, every day, because I'm human. I'm human. I try really hard to get things right. But I've actually today, I'm more interested in doing more interesting things, thinking of more creative ideas, having more human connection than I am in being perfect about anything. So what that means for me, how I show up today with my team, and I hope that if you're one of my team members, I hope this really resonates for you, and I hope you know this is true. If you're not one of my team members, I hope you can reach out to one of my team members, and maybe they can be a coach to you and help advise you on this, because they're further along in this journey because they've been reporting to me for some period of time. But what I do is I actually applaud the mistakes. I'm gonna tell a story about Nico, because he's not here and he can't defend himself. Just kidding. Just kidding. Nico, I hope you watch this recording later and get a good laugh out of this. I'd been working on the G1 team for just a couple of weeks, and Nico is one of my direct reports in the marketing group, and he pinged me and said, Tara, I'm so sorry, this terrible thing happened. This email went out, it should not have gone out. I'm so sorry, I've got to figure out, you know, why exactly it went out, but ultimately it was my responsibility. And he must have apologized 3 times in this ping. And then I get an email from him, and it's literally like a book that details absolutely every step that was taken and everything. And I emailed him back immediately, and I said, thank you for your accountability. And thank you for letting me know. Thank you for giving me the information so that I can back you up with our partners. But here's the most important thing to do right now. Turn off your computer, go for a walk, and tell yourself that you're okay. Tell your team members that everything's fine, not to worry about it. This is a mistake. Mistakes happen, and we'll get through this. And Nico's response to me was, whoa, you're a really different kind of a leader. I don't think he knew what to think about me when we first started working together. And it took several tries like this until he finally got to understand that making mistakes was totally okay with me. Now, I can't say that all of your managers are going to create this kind of safe space for you, but I encourage all of you to create that safe space for yourself. And then work on creating that safe space for the people you work with. Maybe it's people you manage, maybe it's people you don't manage, but you just work with on a day-to-day basis. And it's not about saying, oh, I accept sloppy work. That's not it at all. In fact, since I've been at Google, I've never met anybody who does sloppy work. But you know, let's say you work with somebody who does do sloppy work. That's different. This is about making an honest to goodness mistake. And I think that if you can do work with yourself take the time to think about, when did you first learn what perfection was? When did you first start striving all the time? And you're striving rather than necessarily, and you're striving for this goal of perfection. And then as you reflect upon it, think about how exhausting that is. You know, and spend some time to reflect on how else you could be spending that time. If you weren't spending that time striving, what else would you be doing with that time? So I kind of got ahead of myself. I forgot to mention to everybody, I have a journal. Actually have a journal that I've written on top of it, League. And I actually keep this one in my purse so that and I keep it on my desktop during the day, but I keep it in my purse with me as well, so that whenever I have big picture thoughts about leadership, about how to show up in the world, about how to live a really authentic life, I make those notes in this journal. And the reason I'm sharing this with you right now is because this is something special that I've started for you. And I'd love for you to join me in picking up a journal of your own today. Just write with paper and pen. It's best not to type onto the screen. It's best to create a dedicated, and today, it's totally fine, make those notes, but it's best to have a dedicated space that's away from a screen where you can just allow your mind to wander a little bit and think about big picture issues that uses, paper and pen. So I encourage all of you to purchase a journal, look around your house. If you're anything like me, you've got 20 extra journals that you picked up at, have been given as gifts and have picked up at what are those things that we used to have? Not conferences, the shows that you walk around and they give you all the free swag. So I'm going to pause for just a moment, and I'm going to ask a couple of folks for thoughts about what would work be like for you if you felt safe to make mistakes. How would work be different for you if you felt safe to make mistakes? And if I happen to call on somebody who already feels safe at work, maybe you can share your journey. If anybody, before I start calling on people, would anybody like to volunteer? Raise a hand. Oh, Joe, you raised a hand. Thank you for being so brave.
Oh, of course. Yeah, so for folks who don't know me, I'm Joe Jimbo, and I actually work on Tara's team, on the FI marketing team. And I've been on the team for a little over 2 months now, so I can safely say that I've made a lot of mistakes. But I do think that Tara and also Catherine on the team have really fostered this safe space to do so. And so I've been really comfortable in this, time of learning the business and the teams and the people that I work with day in and day out. It's been great to feel like I can mess up and learn from that and do better next time. So yeah.
That's so great, Joe. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for your bravery in being the first to raise your hand and contribute. And I'm excited, Joe, to a year from now help reflect back on your journey. And in fact, Pav's the next person who's raised his hand. Pav, I can't wait to hear from you because we've been working together now for 2 years. So Pav, tell us about your journey.
Yeah, so I'm definitely there. I feel very comfortable, and yes, obviously Tara is my manager, and she really fostered that. And I was very lucky with managers at Google, but I wanted to share an anecdote that I had with Tara that kind of made the feeling a total reality. And that was the situation where, we have a very good relationship with Tara, and we have a good feedback loop going on. And we often share kind of our thoughts about what other did or say. And there was one time where Tara was on vacation, and there was a super exciting event. And I think Tara knew the person who was part of that event. She sent an email about it to the team while she was on vacation. And so I was like, I'm very European. I'm European. I'm from the Czech Republic. We take our vacation very seriously. And when you're out, you're out. And so I was like, Tara, I crafted this very careful email, saying, Tara, look, I think that it's not in the nicest words possible. I don't think it's good to send emails while you're on vacation, because you're our leader and you are basically a role model for all of us, and setting expectations, how you behave while you're on vacation, right? And I strongly believe that when people are on vacation, they should be on vacation and not check emails, because you can rest it and then you can actually deliver much better stuff. So I wrote this email, I read it 10 times, and then I sent it. And then I realized I sent reply all to the whole team. And I was like, oh my God. This is a disaster. And I was like, oh my God. So again, like quick follow-up email, like, oh my God, sorry. I like, of course I meant this to be sent only to you. And I was really worried because, this could have ended up pretty badly. There are people who would take this as like me kind of, throwing them under the bus in front of the team and that. And I was really stressed, and Tara just told me, wrote me back quickly, like, don't worry about this. I'm not going to send an email because I agree with you. I shouldn't be sending emails. I'll react when I'm back. And then she sent this email that was basically turning a total disaster from my perspective into incredible experience for me, but also the whole team, where she basically sent an email saying like, look, creating a safe space for the whole team is really important for me. And you can see that we developed this relationship with Pav, and I hope that all of you can do this as well with me, and let me know about like when you think that I'm not doing things well, and she agreed and mentioned that like, yeah, I'm not going to send emails anymore. And so for me it was incredible because I felt like, oh my God, I screwed up completely, but I felt so safe afterwards. Plus, I think it was also incredible leadership lesson for me and the whole team. Like, how do you approach and turn a potential tricky situation in something that makes the whole team better and stronger?
Wow, Pav, that's a beautiful story. And I loved seeing everyone's reactions as you mentioned that you accidentally hit reply all. People like physically went, oh my gosh, just cringed. We all do it, right? We all do these things. So creating that help, I think though, in order to sort of establish this kind of a working space around you, you have to start with doing the work on yourself and for yourself. That's really like at the core of all of it. If you don't create, like, if people, no matter how much you tell them it's a safe space, if they don't see you exhibiting and creating a safe space for yourself, then it will never feel safe to others around you. So I really encourage you to spend the time reflecting on those questions that I asked. Write those down in your journal, write them on your computer screen, and reflect on, when did I first decide? When did I first learn that being perfect was something that I needed to strive for? When did I first start striving? What did that do to that little 7-year-old, 8-year-old child? What was I like as a high school student or a college student because of that? How do I show up to work today because of that? And how can I like look back at myself as a young person and feel love and compassion for that young person, and forgive that young person for doing what they thought was best, because that is what is modeled in our education system in the United States and Australia, and frankly in much of the world. It's definitely in Japan and China. I know many of you on this call grew up in different countries around the world. So this is not just something that happens in the United States. This is a global phenomenon. And I find it to be particularly true for Googlers, right? We're the ones who worked really hard in high school and in college, and we strove really hard, and we got to this place in our careers. But what got us here doesn't necessarily serve us going forward. And that is something that definitely has not served me as a professional. So I wanted to talk on that topic, and I appreciate Joe and Pav, you sharing your stories. The next thing I wanted to cover is something that I have been doing with a few of my team members. And so James, I don't see you right now, but I'm looking at you. I'm thinking about you, because this is something that James and I have been working on along with several others. And this is something that I figured out how to do in my early years. I think I was in early years of being a professional. I think I might have been like 22 or 23 years old when I first started this next practice. And I'm going to talk it through with you. And just like the thing that we just talked about, these are so simple, but if you take them seriously, they can be profound. So I'm not an athlete of any sort, but I do know that if I wanted to be an athlete and I started training every day, seriously, I could become an okay athlete. And I use that as a silly example. And I know each of you have experienced something like that in your life. Noah, I'm thinking about you as a new dad, right? A year ago, you didn't know what it was like to change a diaper, to have a newborn baby, and now you have, an almost toddler. And so you figure these things out, you learn these things, you get really good at it. I bet you're amazing at rocking your baby to sleep and amazing at making your baby smile. And those were things you couldn't do a year ago because you hadn't tried, you hadn't practiced these things. So just like anything else, and take the time to invest in the questions that I asked and reflect upon Pov's journey and my journey and really do some deep work for yourself in that work. So the second topic now is, it's so simple, but it is so profound. It is the most profound thing that I have done for my career. And that is to make a plan for yourself. So start by write down, take a notebook, write down on one piece of paper, this is my 1-year plan, this is my, and date it. This is September 2021, Naomi. Whenever I say dates now, I'm gonna look to Naomi and see if I screw them up. Okay, September 2021, this is my 1-year plan. Go to your next page. September 2022, this is my 2-year plan. Next page, 5-year, sorry, I said 1-year plan, 5-year plan, 10-year plan, and 20-year plan. Go to the page that has your 20-year plan written on it and think, all right, if it's September 2021 right now, that'll be September 2041. I will be 64 years old. And then start asking, so think about whatever age you are now. Let's say you're 30. Yeah, I see some of you laughing and some of you like going, oh my fucking God, right? Yeah, 20 years from now is a big thing, right? So start thinking about where you are today. Kevin, you might have like a teenage child in 2021. Noah, you're gonna have a 20-year-old who's probably gonna be in college. Yeah, that baby who you're changing diapers for today. Harsh, you got married this year. You're gonna be celebrating your 20-year wedding anniversary with your wife. So what else does that mean for your life? Right? Just think about what's going on in your life today and just start to dream and think about what does this mean for my life? And start thinking about your career. What does this mean for my career? And I notice I started with the life first because I fundamentally believe that your life should drive your career decisions and not the other way around. Do not let your career drive your life. If you get to that point, you just send me an SOS text message. Say, I need a lot of fucking help. No, I'm just kidding. Just send me an SOS message and I will be like, it's okay. I've been there too. We can get you back on track. Let your life dictate your career, not the other way around. We are some of the luckiest people in the world in that we are educated, we are healthy, we have clean drinking water that comes out of our tap, we have clean air, mostly clean air to breathe. We have stable homes, we have good incomes, we have probably family and friends that love us, we have colleagues that are really smart and capable, we've got access to tons of information. We're the really lucky ones in the world. So use this precious opportunity that you have. Use these precious gifts or the opportunities that you've created for yourself that you have and help guide them in the direction that you want your life to go. Don't let your career dictate your life. Choose how you want your life to be and then have your career support that, have your career enhance your life. So after you've done that 20-year exercise, because I actually find that one to be the easiest of the 4. I've got, you guys know, you might find it differently. I saw a couple funny reactions on people's faces like, whoa, that's really hard. You might find the 5-year plan the easiest, maybe the 1-year plan the easiest. I find the 20-year plan the easiest. I don't put that much detail into it. It's more like, for me, it's like, okay, my kids will be 30 in 20 years. My kids are, you know, as I said, 9 and 11. They will be 29 and 31 years old. They will be out of the house. And my goal is that they are happy, that they are healthy, that they are capable of making smart choices on their own, and also that they are financially off the payroll, if you know what I mean. That they have launched, right? So that's parenting for me, because I'm a mom. Parenting is a big part of my life today, and it takes up a huge number of hours in my days and weeks. But in 20 years, like, I won't be parenting day to day anymore. I mean, I guess I could even have grandkids at that point. It just occurred to me for the first time right now. Holy shit, guys. I mean, yeah, I guess 31, I could totally have a grandchild at that age. So, point is, you know, this is just some big picture stuff. I'm not like making a detailed list of what I want my children's lives to look like. This is like, I want them to be happy. You know, I want them to be healthy. And so start there and work from there. And then as far as my own career, I'll just, you know, 20 years from now, I think it's unlikely that I'll be a Google 20 years from now. 20 years from now, I don't want to be retired personally. Maybe you'll want to be retired at that age. But I don't want to be retired. And I will probably be doing some sort of work for good. So some environmental work or something related to women's education or women's health. Those are the things, those are passions of mine. Those are things that really, really matter a lot to me. But you need to do that work and figure out for yourself, you know, what do you want your life to look like 20 years from now? It's also fun to like make a list of places that you would have liked to have traveled to, or some like, you know, bucket list items too. So I start with a 20-year plan. I then flip to the 1-year plan, and I start making a plan for this next year. And this is not a New Year's resolution plan. This is not like, I'm going to lose 10 pounds and I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to only eat celery on Sundays and all that stuff. That's not what this is. This is, you know, what are a few really important, meaningful, major contributions that I want to contribute to my life that help me determine how I'm going to live a more fulfilled life. These are going to be totally different for each of you. Totally different for each of you. I would be shocked if any two of you had the same list of things that you hope to achieve in the next year, aside from focusing on your health and happiness, you know. But each of you should have a number of life goals and important career goals as well. So I'm actually going to pause for just a moment, and I want you to each start thinking about your either whatever's easiest for you. Start writing down some of your vision for what you want your 1-year plan or your 20-year plan. Don't go into the 5 or 10 yet. Just the 1-year plan or 20-year plan to be like. So I'm going to give you like 3 minutes just to start writing down some of your ideas. How is this feeling for you guys? Is this hard? Is it a relief? Is it exciting to write it down? Hard. I see a lot of people nodding their heads. This is hard.
I wonder if the 1-year plan is hard because of COVID too.
Yeah.
It's hard to set expectations and know what's possible in the year ahead. We've been through a lot in the last year and a half, so.
Such a good point, Joe. Such a good point. Lily Hackett, feels like I'm writing a script to a movie. Yeah. You know what? Guess who is the feature actor in that movie?
It's like the 20-year plan is so tricky when you're so young in your career because you like don't even really know what opportunities could be there. So it's like, I don't know, I'll be living in a cool place. It all feels very like.
When I was 20 years old, so that's a good prompt, Lily. When I was 22 years old and I started doing this, I wrote down things like, I would like to have lived and worked abroad for a few years. By the time I hit 20 years, I would like to be married or have a spouse, have a partner, and I would like to have children. And so in 20 years, I would like a career where I'm doing meaningful work that is fulfilling to me and helping others. These are things that I actually, as I'm talking to you right now, Lily, I am remembering sitting in a coffee shop by myself. It was a winter day and the sun was coming in and I was drinking tea and writing down on a yellow legal pad. And I just I can actually see the words on the paper, and I struggled. It was really hard to write that down. It was really hard to develop those concepts, but I hope I just gave you some prompts that help. Harsh. It's clear, but feels like a lot of work within a short period of time. Christy, the 20-year plan is hard.
It's interesting that for different people, it's either the 1 year versus the 20 years harder for different people.
Yes. What I will tell you is I've now been doing this for more than 20 years. I do it every year. My husband does it too now. We do it. We actually do it. We sit down in the same space together, but we do it on our own. It's kind of like COVID, right? Separate but together, like whatever. So we do it independently. And I've actually now gotten really good at it, but it's a muscle that you have to develop. And I love that we're all doing this together right now. I love that I've got the experience, but most of you are new to this. And I love that you're all figuring this out together right now, because the first couple of times you do it, it is awkward as fuck. It's just awkward. It's just the first time you try anything for the first time. It is awkward. But this one's even harder. It is really uncomfortable. It's really uncomfortable, isn't it? But what I have found is that the more time that you spend on intention, the more time you spend on planning and on intention, the more likely your life is to actually unfold the way in which you hoped it to be. And I can tell you, as I look back over the years and years and years of writing these plans for myself, I haven't fulfilled all of it by any stretch of the means. And in fact, just because it's on a plan doesn't mean it's something that's actually going to happen. It just means it's something for you to work towards. And some of those things I work towards. So for a long time, I thought I wanted to be, the CMO of one of the top few wineries in the world. And then suddenly, after our younger daughter was born and had all of her heart problems and had, multiple open heart surgeries, that was not important to me at all anymore. Overnight, it went from being extraordinarily important to didn't matter one iota at all. And I was done with that career completely. So that's okay. If you write on your 20-year plan that in 20 years you want to be the CMO of a wine company, and then you change your mind and you do something else, that's fine. That's not the point. The point isn't to hold yourself totally accountable to this list that you're putting together. The point is to have intention with how you're living your life. And the more you think about it, the more you spend in that uncomfortable space and thinking through what you want to do and how you want to show up in the world, the more likely you'll actually guide your life in those directions. That makes sense? James, I know we went through this exercise a lot together recently. Is there anything you'd like to share from your experience?
I was just about to type into the group chat, like something I did when Tara took me through this exercise was look for through lines between the 1 year and the 20 year, 1 year and 10 year. For me, and I mean, Tara, you know this, but for me, it was happiness. And I came to Tara with some gripes and growing pains with my current role, candidly. And she took me to this exercise, which was a surprise to me. But it was extremely valuable. And like I said, happiness was kind of a through line for me in terms of what I want to work toward, what I want in my professional life, what I want in my personal life. I think we ended that call and we were both kind of like, where is this going? At least I certainly was, but took like a week to really think about it and reflect that I'm pretty happy right now in my life. So like what, and it really made me think about or look at the pain points of my current role a little bit differently, realizing that I am achieving my greater goal currently in this role of happiness, right, in my life and professionally, and that can be extracted through the people you're working with. That can be extracted through I'm about to get married. So it doesn't necessarily have to just, I mean, and Tara, you were saying this in the upfront of this, like your goals don't necessarily just have to be achieved through, your day-to-day work or your day-to-day job. So that was a big aha for me in this exercise. And I think our follow-up conversation was a lot smoother from there in terms of I'm currently achieving my bigger goal of happiness. So.
I mean, if that's not profound, I don't know what is. That's profound, James. To know what your life goals are and to know that you're actually achieving, you're in the process of achieving right now. That must feel extremely rewarding.
Absolutely. Yeah, achieving the biggest and most important one for me, which this exercise helped me see, like, my happiness personally and professionally is the most important, thing at each step, 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, 20 year. So. Yeah.
So I encourage each of you to continue to work on this plan and don't put it on your desk and be like, oh, I'll get to that later. Like, get this thing like nailed down. Like you feel like it's in a really good place by Sunday. Today's Thursday, so you have a couple of days, including the weekend, and you'll need to reflect on it. It'll be the kind of thing where you're like driving or taking a shower, you're like eating, and you'll be like, oh yes, that's right. This other thing's really important to me. I got to go write that down. And personally, how it works out for me is my 1 year plan is like a full sheet of paper. And then my 5 year plan is shorter, my 10 year plan is shorter, and then my 20 year plan is like really short. And that's okay. They can be however you want them to be. This is about you. This isn't about me, and it's not about what somebody else is doing. But it's hard work. It's thoughtful work. And I encourage you to do it annually. I've done it every year. I have a specific notebook that I go to. Back in the day, Lily, I was sitting in that coffee shop using a legal pad. I don't know where those legal pieces of paper have gone, but I do have a notebook. It's not this one, but it's one that looks like this. And I go, that is my notebook. And I have these like little tabs that I put in there for each new year. And I go, and it's really fun to go back and reflect on it and look at it. And so you will be creating the guidebook to your life. So invest time in it. Okay. We've only got about 12 minutes left together. So I gave you two really big things to think about. And I would love to hear from others. Are there other things on your mind right now? You know, we're in perf, we're working from home, RTO just got extended. You know, do you have any hot burning questions that you want to ask of me or ask of the group? Okay, well, you think about it. I'm going to put Corey on the spot and ask Corey. Corey, would you like to share how we know one another?
Wow. Well, I actually hesitated because I was almost going to answer that last question. So I'll do.
Oh, good. Yay.
First of all, oh God, Tara, I'm not going to tell this story the way I should. I know Tara because our parents met in India in the early 70s. Before either of us were born. Both sets of well, I should say my parents were newly married on a 3-year trip around the world because that's what they did. And they met Tara's father, who was traveling alone in India. And soon after, they met a woman who was from Australia. And they kind of took a liking to her. And they all went to their, silent meditation retreat, as one does in India in the 70s. And it turned out that Tara's father really liked this woman, and she became Tara's mother. So my parents were with her father when he met his future wife and Tara's mom. And we met each other when we were like babies, we think.
There's a photo of you on like my living room. But I must have been a toddler and like in bed, but we're not in the same photo. Okay, sorry. Yeah.
No, all of that. And then I guess it was maybe a year or two ago when your mom reached out to my dad, probably using Google, right, to find each other. Everybody's in Northern California. And reconnected and talked about how her daughter was now in Marin, where I am, and working at Google, which I am. And so we found each other through Who and connected and have taken a walk and done all of the catch up. And yeah, so that's a funny story. Thank you for prompting and listening. Happy to be here with all of you. I don't know many of you. I know some of the names. Happy to get to know you guys on this journey, as they call that. Something that Joe said in the chat right before this was especially interesting to me. Your goals versus outside expectations. And when Tara prompted the question, what's on your mind? That was the thing that came. I think that's a big deal, and one that as I get older in my career, I see the tide shifting. I think it mattered a lot to me earlier, what I was doing, what I could say I was doing, what people know me to be doing. Versus now, I'm rounding the corner towards, okay, where am I in this? And how do I feel about the things that I'm doing and the ways I'm spending my hours? And really looking hard at shedding the difficult to shed elements of that, past building up that I was doing, and really distilling down in this plan, the 1, the 5, the 10, the 20 year, where am I in that? And what do I want that to look like? Deaf to all of the outside noise.
That is, I can so relate to that. And I think that's actually something I'm a work in progress on that myself. And it is something that I continue to try to aspire to. I saw a lot of you nodding your heads as Corey shared that. So I feel like that resonated with a lot of people. And we'll all get there. Right? Someday we won't give a damn what anybody else thinks. But in the meantime, we're all struggling with, societal pressures, with across Google pressures, with performance. And one of the things that I've observed, not being a longtime Googler, but one of the things I've observed about Google culture is that perf and promotion is extraordinarily important to people. And I realized that one of the reasons, my theory is that one of the reasons for that is that so many Googlers started working at Google straight out of college, where they were accustomed to semesters and getting report cards and being on dean's lists and things like that. And so people are constantly looking for feedback and they want to know. And again, this is going back to the earlier conversation. This is a group of 200,000 perfectionists, right? I mean, I bet behavioral economics people just have a field day talking to Googlers. So, 200,000 perfectionists all looking for feedback, all looking for validation that we're doing a good job, all looking for promotion because that's the best validation that there is within Google. And so it becomes like this sort of very competitive, it can become a toxic culture, candidly. And so the more you can kind of like somehow view that as a toxic culture, like see it for what it is and kind of put it, put it in a bubble and like kind of say, that's a toxic culture. I don't need to play that game and I can still be me and still be successful, the better we'll all be. But I know that's so much easier said than done. So I'm on that journey with you. Corey, thank you for sharing. Would anybody else like to share? Okay, then let me just wrap up with a couple of little housekeeping things. We're gonna set up a little chat room, and I would love for you to, as you work on this work that we talked about today, identifying what perfection is, how that started for you, and your release of that, and role modeling that for others, as well as your 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, 20-year plan. As you work through that, I'd love for you to share with one another. It's a great exercise in teaching yourself to be vulnerable. It's also a really great exercise in exploring alternative ideas. So I don't want any of you to compete. There's no competition here, right? This is your life. This isn't a competition. But I would love to see, maybe Valerie would write something on her 10-year plan about an intention to, travel to 15 countries. And I might look at that and be like, wow, that's really powerful. That really resonates with me. These are 14, I can think of 12 countries that I really want to go to, and I'm going to include that on my list or something like that. So I'd love for you to inspire one another. Again, it's not a competition. It's not about copying. It's more about looking for inspiration from one another. And I'd love for you guys to coach one another. One of the reasons we put this group together is because I get, I don't know, Brittany is on the call. Brittany would know better than I would. I get probably 2, 3, 4 requests a week for coaching or mentoring, and I just physically can't do it all. So what I wanted to do is develop this group so that I could speak to all of you, and then also you guys had the power of developing really close relationships with one another, and that you can support one another. Nothing would make me happier than to know that Antonique and Corey connected and are, talking about some opportunities or challenges that they see at Google and how to navigate those together. And that would just honestly make me really happy. So we'll put that together, and then we'll also have more of these sessions. We'll set up more of these sessions. If you'd like to invite others to join, please do. I'm sorry that I rescheduled last week. My kids started school, and I was physically and emotionally exhausted after having had the kids home for 18 months. And I honestly, instead of doing we rescheduled the talk, and I honestly I do not nap, and I went and I laid down and I took a 2-hour nap that day. So that tells me just how exhausted I was. And I share that with you right now in letting you know that I had to prioritize my own self-care before I had energy to help support all of you. And again, I share that so that I hope you can think about that, and I can be a good role model for you in that way as well. Thank you for being on this journey with me. It's a journey. We're figuring this out together. If you have feedback, suggestions, ideas, I welcome all of them. And one last note is that we have some really wonderful guest speakers who will be coming to some of these sessions in the future as well. Mostly Googlers, but we might even pull in my father-in-law who founded the Peace Corps. He might come in and give a little chat with us and things like that. So I look forward to next time, and thank you again. I honor each of you. I'm grateful for your time and your energy for being here. Take care, everybody.